right, again, this is chapter 2 of the Robert Hur actual report. Last week I recorded the transcripts with the audio because Axios had finally released it. I don't know how they got access to it, but either way, it goes through basically line by line through that whole transcript with the uhs and all that stuff taken out. But anyway, for Joe Biden and Robert Hur, and there's some other people in there. But remember, they decided not to prosecute, but let's just keep going here reading. So this is chapter 2. It says overview of the investigation. Discovery of classified documents. A. Personal counsel to Mr. Biden discovered marked classified documents at the Penn Biden Center. On November 2nd, 2022, Patrick Moore, one of Mr. Biden's personal counsel, reviewed boxes of material belonging to Mr. Biden, which were stored at the Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement in Washington, D.C., an office space formerly used by Mr. Biden. During this review, Moore found documents with classification markings dated to Mr. Biden's vice presidency. Moore notified Robert Bauer, another personal counsel to Mr. Biden, who then notified the White House counsel. That evening, the White House counsel's office informed the general counsel for the National Archives and Records Administration. The next morning, November 3rd, 2022, the National Archives sent 2 archivists to retrieve the documents and the 3 boxes in which they were found. Upon reviewing the documents in a skiff, the National Archives found 9 documents totaling 44 pages with classification markings. The documents were classified up to the top secret level and included codes indicating some of the information was sensitive, compartmented information. The marked classified documents were located in 2 of the 3 boxes. All 3 boxes contain records dating from Mr. Biden's time as vice president. The day after the National Archives retrieved the classified documents, on November 4th, 2022, the archives notified officials in the National Security Division of the Department of Justice, or the DOJ, in the Office of the Department of National Intelligence of the discovery of classified records related to President Biden's time as vice president. A few days later, on November 9th, the FBI opened an initial assessment to begin investigating the matter. The following day, November 10th, the chief of DOJ's Counterintelligence and Export Control Section sent Bauer a letter describing the steps that Bauer and others acting on the president's behalf should take. The chief informed Bauer that the prospect that classified material may have been stored in an unsecure location over a prolonged period may have national security implications. He also told Bauer that pending further action by DOJ, the Penn Biden Center and Mr. Biden's post-vice presidential office should secure rooms and locations that contain any additional potential government records and materials from President Biden's time as vice president, preserve the status quo as to the location of such materials and refrain from reviewing them. Preserve all video footage, visitor logs, and other access records from the Penn Biden Center. Provide a list of all locations where material from Mr. Biden's time as vice president has been stored, and give express consent for FBI and Department of Justice personnel to review the records retrieved by the National Archives. Bauer responded the next day, stating that President Biden had no objection to the requested steps and would cooperate fully with the department and as directed by the department with the archives. Bauer stated, "We do not know of any rooms or locations that contain additional potential government records and materials from President Biden's time as vice president, but will immediately acknowledge and act as directed in the event we learn of any, as we did here." On November 14th, 2022, the Attorney General assigned John Lausch then the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois, to lead the initial investigation and assess whether the Attorney General should appoint a special counsel to investigate the matter. Among other steps, investigators interviewed witnesses, reviewed the recovered documents, obtained security video footage from the Penn Biden Center, and conducted a consensual search of the Penn Biden Center to ensure there were no other classified materials there. B. Personal counsel discovered marked classified documents relating to Afghanistan in Mr. Biden's Delaware garage. On December 20th, 2022, nearly 7 weeks after the initial discovery of classified documents at the Penn Biden Center, Bauer and Moore traveled to Mr. Biden's private residence in Wilmington, Delaware, to search the garage for classified documents or other Obama-era presidential records. They later explained that through discussion with current and former Biden staffers, they came to believe that documents from Mr. Biden's time as vice president may have been moved into the garage. We consider the possibility that Mr. Biden alerted his counsel that classified documents were in the garage, but our investigation revealed no evidence of such a discussion because if it happened, it would be protected by the attorney-client privilege. Bauer searched a closet in the garage and found documents with classification markings inside a binder. After Bauer made the discovery, Moore found documents with classification markings in an unsealed box in another area of the garage, including documents from 2009 relating to U.S. policy in Afghanistan. After finding these marked classified documents in 2 locations in the garage, Bauer and Moore stopped their search. Later that same day, Bauer notified Lausch of the discoveries in Mr. Biden's garage. On Mr. Biden's behalf, Bauer provided consent for FBI agents to search the garage and seize classified or other government records from the time of the Obama administration. The FBI dispatched 2 agents to retrieve the boxes in the garage the following day. The agents met Moore at the garage, expecting he would point them to all of the boxes potentially containing classified material. Upon learning, however, that counsel had not searched the entire garage, the agents conducted a limited search of the garage intended to determine whether it contained other classified documents. The agents seized the containers Mr. Biden's counsel had identified in several other containers, documents, and materials. The 2 agents lacked sufficient resources to conduct a comprehensive search of the entire garage, given the volume of material stored there. Accordingly, Lausch emailed Bauer and asked that he ensure that the garage remains secure, access to it is strictly limited, and no items are removed from the location until a further review of the remaining materials occurs. Lausch also wrote that they needed to continue our conversation about the department receiving appropriate assurances that no records from President Biden's prior term as vice president remain at any unauthorized location, including within the Wilmington residence or any other residence, storage facility, or space. Personal counsel discovered more marked classified documents in Mr. Biden's basement den. After the holiday, Bauer and Jennifer Miller, another personal counsel for Mr. Biden, continued their efforts to determine whether there were any other classified records in Mr. Biden's Delaware home. On the evening of January 11th, 2023, counsel traveled to the house to search areas other than the garage. Bauer and Miller remained together during the search. They first searched Mr. Biden's primary office, sometimes called the library, on the main floor of the house. They identified no documents with classification markings there. They moved on to the den in the basement. There, in a wooden 2-drawer file cabinet, counsel found a document with classification markings from the Obama administration in a notebook labeled 1612, number 2, foreign policy. Bauer and Miller stopped their detailed search at this point and performed a cursory visual inspection of the rest of the house after that. The next day, January 12th, 2023, Bauer informed Lausch of the discovery in the basement den. The FBI sent agents to the house that evening to recover the classified material. Bauer informed Lausch that at that time, Bauer did not have Mr. Biden's consent for the FBI to search and seize his notebook that contains the marked classified document. Thus, on Bauer's instructions, Richard Sauber of the White House counsel's office met agents at the house and escorted them to the marked classified material found in the notebook in the basement cabinet. Agents observed Sauber pick up the notebook and leaf through it. Sauber and the agents eventually found 2 documents with classification markings, a 3-page PowerPoint presentation marked as secured, no foreign, pre-decisional, dated May 22nd, 2013, relating to Afghanistan, and a 3-page memorandum labeled TS/SCI, shorthand for top secret, sensitive, compartmented information, dated November 1st, 2013, relating to Iraq. The agents seized the documents with classification markings and secured the 1612, number 2, foreign policy notebook in a locking classified document courier bag. After discussions with Lausch, Sauber provided the 1612, number 2, foreign policy notebook to FBI agents 2 days later. The notebook, like other notebooks described below, contained Mr. Biden's handwritten notes as vice president relating to foreign policy and national security. The Attorney General appointed a special counsel to investigate. On January 12th, 2023, this same day, FBI agents retrieved marked classified documents from the basement cabinet. The Attorney General appointed Robert Hur as special counsel to investigate the matter. The Attorney General's order authorized Hur to conduct the investigation initially led by Lausch, including possible unauthorized removal and retention of classified documents or other records discovered at the Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement and the Wilmington, Delaware private residence of President Joseph R. Biden Jr., as well as any matter that rose from the initial investigation or may arise directly from the special counsel's investigation or that are within the scope of 28 CFR 600.4A. FBI agents discovered more marked classified documents and handwritten classified notes in various parts of Mr. Biden's home. After the discovery of the classified documents in Mr. Biden's basement, Mr. Biden consented to a search of the entirety of the Delaware home by the FBI for relevant materials, including documents with classification markings and other potentially classified information. FBI agents searched the home on January 20th, 2023. Agents searched all areas of the house, including the garage, which agents had partially searched on December 21st, 2022. The house has a lower level basement, a first level main floor, a second level with the primary bedroom, and a third level top floor with additional rooms and attic storage space. Agents seized items that fell primarily into 2 categories. 1, boxes or folders containing documents with classification markings, most of which date to the 1970s and relate to foreign trips Mr. Biden took as a senator, and 2, notebooks containing his handwritten notes from his time as vice president relating to foreign policy and national security. 2 of these notebooks had marked classified documents stored inside them, and several notebooks contained handwritten information that was itself classified. In Mr. Biden's garage, agents found several documents with classification markings dating from Mr. Biden's time in the Senate in the 1970s and 1980s. Some of those documents relate to foreign trips Mr. Biden took as a senator, some of which he chronicled in his 2007 memoir, Promises to Keep. Agents from those Senate era documents found those Senate era documents in a storage closet in Mr. Biden's garage. In Mr. Biden's main floor office, basement den, and second floor office, agents found and seized 17 notebooks and a stack of note cards, all of which contain Mr. Biden's handwriting or handwritten notes on foreign policy and national security matters as vice president. Two of the notebooks found in the main floor office had documents with classification markings stored inside them. Elsewhere in the house, agents found one document with classification markings in the third level den, and in an office attached to the primary bedroom on the second level, agents found a binder similar to a binder previously found in the garage, which contains most of the same marked classified documents as the binder found in the garage. FBI agents found more marked classified documents from the Senate era at the University of Delaware. Between January and June of 2023, FBI agents searched over 300 boxes containing Mr. Biden's Senate papers, which were stored in two locations at the University of Delaware. Within those boxes, agents found documents with potential classification markings dated from 1977 to 1991 during Mr. Biden's service in the Senate. Summary of investigative activity. The FBI and the Special Counsel's Office undertook an extensive investigation into Mr. Biden's handling of classified information and of the classified documents the FBI seized. We applied our best efforts to conduct the investigation thoroughly and expeditiously. Investigators conducted 173 interviews of 147 witnesses, including Mr. Biden himself. All told, the investigation collected over 7 million documents, including emails, text messages, photographs, videos, toll records, and other materials from both classified and unclassified sources. We also coordinated with the government agencies that had equities in the classified and potentially classified documents the FBI seized from locations associated with Mr. Biden. The agencies conducted classification review of seized documents to recommend the appropriate classification level, compartmentation, and dissemination controls for each document. Investigators met with subject matter experts in the intelligence community to determine whether the documents contained information that a jury could conclude was national defense information under the Espionage Act. Mr. Biden's notebooks, which contained, among other things, his handwritten notes taken during classified meetings as vice president, presented a challenge. None of the pages contained classification markings, but investigators assessed some of the content was potentially classified. Classification review by intelligence agencies of unmarked information is more challenging and time-consuming than for marked documents. We therefore reviewed all of Mr. Biden's handwritten notes and selected 37 excerpts, totaling 109 notebook pages to submit for classification review. Investigators selected entries they believed were most likely highly classified and that a jury of lay people would find was national defense information under the Espionage Act. For both marked classified documents and unmarked documents, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence reviewed each document and provided a list of agencies with potential equities in each document. The FBI requested classification review from each identified agency accordingly. For documents where multiple agencies had equities, the Special Counsel's Office used the highest level of classification identified by an agency as the current classification of the document. Results of the classification review are summarized in Appendix A, which provides an unclassified summary of the recovered documents submitted for classification review. Classification review conducted in the context of a criminal investigation has limitations. Agencies with equities in the information in the seized documents have applied their best efforts to determine the current classification of the material we submitted to them. In so doing, some have indicated that classification determinations are subject to change. Real world events and changed circumstances can affect the harm to national security that would result from unauthorized disclosure of the information. Changed circumstances and events could therefore result in future modifications to classification determinations. Some agencies have also noted that in the typical context of classification review, such as pursuant to a Freedom of Information Act request, they consult with one another before making a final classification determination. That is to ensure an agency does not, for example, release information another agency considered classified. In this investigation, however, the Special Counsel's Office and FBI have asked agencies to determine only the classification of information belonging to them without consulting other agencies to determine the overall classification of a document. Consistent with how the Department of Justice has handled the issue in similar investigations, the Special Counsel's Office enlisted the help of the Office of the Director of National Intelligence to determine which information should be submitted to which agency. Classification determinations provided to the Special Counsel's Office, therefore, are not final determinations of the agencies in the sense that each agency cannot unequivocally state the classification level of a document without having undertaken that interagency coordination themselves. Instead, agencies have provided classification determinations specifically to the information they originated or own and nothing more. Finally, the National Security Council is an equity holder in a large volume of the classified or potentially classified information recovered in this investigation. The National Security Council, however, works in direct support of Mr. Biden in his current position as president to avoid a conflict of interest in having Mr. Biden's own National Security Council determine a classification level of documents recovered in this investigation. The White House asked the Department of State to stand in for the National Security Council in conducting classification review of the White House for National Security Council information. The State Department did so by applying the National Security Council's classification guide to the documents with such information, rather than by following its internal State Department classification review process. The State Department, however, is not the National Security Council, and the classification authorities at the State Department do not have the legal authority to classify information belonging to the National Security Council. Results received from the State Department as a stand-in in the National Security Council, therefore, are the government's current best estimate of classification under the circumstances. The National Security Council could reach different conclusions. All right, so we're going to stop here. We'll go on to chapter 3. Maybe I'll do it today. I don't know yet. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Who knows? Anyway, if I don't see you, have a great afternoon or a good weekend. See y'all. Bye.